In the game I'm about to show you, Praggnanandha's opponent offers him an open invitation to attack. Pragg gladly accepts it, and we have a very nice sequence of events. But I want to highlight why Pragg was able to create the attack in the first place, because there is a very nice concept that is at work here. And if you want to learn how to attack against a castled king, this is the concept that you must absolutely know. At the same time, I will also show you how you can defend against that concept. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So we have e4, e5 on the board, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. The Italian opening is on the board. And with the white pieces, we have Duda Jan-Krzysztof, a very strong grandmaster from Poland. And with black, we have Praggnanandhaa. Now bishop c5 is played. Duda plays d3, and both sides continue to follow normal theory until we reach this position. Now Pragg is threatening to go bishop g4 at some point, so Duda plays the move h3. But with this move, Duda is also inviting Pragg to attack his king. And Pragg gladly accepts that invitation, as you'll see in a couple of moves. But to understand why Pragg was able to create an attack from this position, you have to know the concept of pawn hooks. These are basically pawns that, let's say, have moved just one step or maybe two steps from a castled king's position, and you can basically use these pawn hooks to launch an attack in the enemy territory. How to do that, you'll soon find out. But think of it this way: this king opened a window for itself so that if anytime there is a back rank threat, the king can run to h2. But in opening the window, the king has also given access to the enemy pieces to get inside his position. Now Pragg plays the move h6. And after knight a3, he goes g5. And this is the whole point and the reason why he is able to create an attack. Let's say if white plays a move like rook a2, Pragg will play g4. And suddenly you see after hg4, which is forced, otherwise, white will lose the pawn. So hg4, bishop g4. This g file has got opened up. This rook will come on the g file. This queen at some point will come on the g file, and there will be a lot of attack against this white king. That's why it's important for white that he's able to keep this structure closed. None of this would have happened if we put this pawn back on h2. Okay, in that case, even after g4, if the knight moves, the g file remains closed, and black would need more effort to break open the white king position. If let's say black had castled here, it would not be very wise to push g5, g4, because this king would come in the way of the rook here, and at the same time black would also have to worry about his own king safety. Okay, but let's say if the king is not castled, or if let's say the king has castled on the other side of the board, creating a pawn hook like this can just put you in a lot of trouble and in a lot of pressure. So be very careful before playing a move like h3 and before creating hooks like this. Of course, Duda is a world-class grandmaster and he's not going to allow a move like g4 easily. He also sees it. So he plays the move knight h2. Stops the move g4. Now Pragg plays the move rook g8. Pragg is like, I want to play g4 no matter what. So Duda plays, okay, I will go bishop e3. I will exchange bishops. g4 played by Pragg. Now Duda takes on a7 and Pragg again has to make a choice. Does he go gh3 and forget about his piece after bishop e3? Since he's lost this bishop, he can go rook g2 check, king g1, and he can continue an attack. However, white also has some defensive resources. Let's say after bishop g4 he has f3 here, and it's not so clear how black is going to break through to white's king position. This h file is closed thanks to the h pawn, so it's not clear how this attack is going to go further. So what Pragg decides to do is, instead of playing the move gh3, he plays the move knight takes a7. And after knight takes a7, this gives white enough time to basically close this structure on the king side. White plays the move h4, and with this move he is able to keep this g file closed and most importantly keep the king safe. If let's say you have a pawn hook, your opponent tries to open it, please see if there is a way for you to keep the structure closed so that you don't allow the opponent's piece to come into your position. There comes the move knight c6. If you thought Duda was going to collapse just very soon as Pragg attacked, no. Duda is of course a very strong grandmaster, a top player himself. It's not easy to beat such players. So knight c6 played, b4. Now Pragg knows that he has to get more pieces into the game. So he has to develop his undeveloped pieces. Bishop e6 played. Queen d2, attacking the pawn. Pragg saves it with the move h5. We have f4 on the board. Pragg plays queen e7 and Duda plays rook a1. Very nice move, putting the rook on the same file as the enemy queen and king. Very, very nice. Knight d7 played, and now Duda had a very, very strong move to play in the game. Duda could have played d4. Remember this principle. Whenever there is a flank attack, whenever your opponent tries to do a flank attack on you, see how you can break open the center. Because usually what happens is when you break open the center, your pieces become more active and it becomes harder for your opponent to sustain his attack on one flank. But in the game, Duda played the move g3. Maybe he decided to keep his position solidified for some time. Now Pragg played e into f4, rook into f4 and played knight c5. And this allows Pragg enough time to keep the e file close and get more pieces towards the center. So knight c5 played, bishop d5, hitting this pawn. Now Pragg decides to long castle. And this king defends the pawn. At the same time, this king has gotten away from any trouble on the e file. Now Duda plays the move knight c2. And Pragg decides it's time to get this rook in the game. He goes knight f3 check. Now this queen is attacked, so white has to take this knight with knight f3, gf3. And now if white goes rook f3, that wouldn't work because this queen can capture this pawn on h4 and the g pawn is pinned, so it can't move. That's why white decides to play the move king f2. White is supporting this g pawn. Now Pragg decides to play the move knight e5. He's protecting this f3 pawn. He's protecting his forward asset. There comes the move knight e3. And Pragg plays a very nice move here. Very nice. He goes here queen to d7. You may think the idea of queen to d7 is attacking this pawn. But no, Pragg is not greedy like that. Instead, this queen is going to come inside the enemy position from the other direction. And it's going to go to h2 and finish off the game. You know, when you have a queen, it's like having a Lionel Messi or a Erling Haaland or a Ronaldo. You want her to be in the opponent's box. That's when you will score a goal. So queen h3 is the idea. Duda sees it and he decides to go bishop into e6. Now if you go queen e6, there is the move rook h1 and it stops this queen from landing on h3. So Pragg plays the move here, f into e6. And after d4, kicking away the knight, what would you play? If you said you wanted to move the knight, well, you know, that's not what Pragg played. And you're missing an important concept here. And that is, now in the position, you have to see how you can try to get the initiative. The top players are very, very good at it. Pragg plays the move queen to g7. He says, you can take my knight, but you'll lose this pawn. And in doing so, he's not only giving white a threat, but he's also getting his most important piece into the attack, into the action. Queen g7. There comes the move rook g1. Now Pragg uses a very simple tactic to win a pawn. He goes knight g6, rook takes and takes this pawn on h4. You can't take gh4 because this g1 rook would hang. So this rook drops back again to f4. Now once again my question to you, what would you play here? If you think you can move the knight, yeah, it is possible, but you're not thinking like a top player here. Pragg here played the move rook f8. Very nice move. Pragg says, I want the knight to stay there because as long as knight is here, it is creating some threats in the position. I'm not going to move it, but I'm going to bring my inactive piece into the attack. So rook f8 played, queen d1, and now Pragg plays another nice move. And that is, he goes queen g5. The queen is basically saying to the rook, please move from the position finally. You know, there is a famous saying in my native language that if someone doesn't open their mouth, you basically pinch their nose. This rook is like, okay, I can't hold the tension on this f4 square. So there is rook f8 check, rook f8, king e2. And now Pragg again finds a very nice move. He goes rook f3. He just brings all his pieces in the attack. And he is keeping an eye here. There comes queen c1 protecting this knight. But now Pragg gets the time to play rook g3. Rook g3, queen g3, winning a pawn. Queen f1 played. And now this knight drops back to g6. Just like Cesar Azpilicueta dropping back after an unsuccessful corner by Chelsea. Knight g6 played, king d2. The knight drops forward to f4. There comes the move p5. White is trying to create some counterplay on the queen side, but Pragg is like, I am just going to continue to push my pawn all the way. And after d6, he finds a very nice tactic here. That is to make a queen. So you have 2 queens. White takes, Pragg gives a check and wins the knight. And yeah, there is a check here. If there is no check, there would have been a checkmate. So yeah, you have to remember that. Now the knight comes back. Queen gives a check. But still, the danger is not yet over. Because, this queen can give some lot of checks to this black king. However, the thing here is with the knight and the king, they are very good defenders. The knight is a very fantastic defender to be around the king. And as you'll soon see, in a span of few moves, Pragg was able to coordinate his pieces very nicely. And eventually we reach this position where he wins more pawns. He continues to improve his pieces step by step. And after queen e4, he basically forces a trade of queens. And Praggnanandhaa wins the game. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you learned something from it, do hit the like button. And if you want to learn about another important attacking concept, I highly recommend you check out this video right here.